See my husband?
Всем привет.
Oh. Okay. My love, you ready? Let's start.
I'm ready.
You see, today we are in different cities. Bill is in Evanston, and I'm in Los Angeles because we have also today, and I think this is our first offline event in the, yeah, it's actually our first offline event in the United States. Wow, it's a big day. I didn't realize it actually. Yeah, so today we have ACI 4 class 4, and let's set up the motivation, right? Malab, do you want to help with this?
Oh, you were good with the meditations. I'm excited for the class. There's some pretty big ideas in this one. This is
Okay.
the
It means,
best class ever.
yeah, okay. It means, my love, help yourself.
Is the audio okay? Should I put on my AirPods? Okay.
No, it's good. I think it's good. Okay, so thank you for coming, first of all, and close your eyes, sit up straight, and think about your life, where you are at this stage in your life. Technical stuff and translators, you also supposed to think about it because you want to plant the best seeds with this class. And let's point A and think about these teachings and the fact that the main idea we have to understand is that everything, no, not everything, nothing comes without our seeds. And therefore, the only way to change the reality is to change our everyday behavior. And think about one thing you can do differently today to get to your point B in your future, where you will see everybody happy around you, including yourself. You will not see any wars, any conflicts, poverty, sufferings, sicknesses. Maybe you even will see people being angels and acting very much like angels. And make a wish that every second of this class will lead you as soon as possible to this point B, because you will change every day with your actions. Okay. Open your eyes. Today, nobody will show the slides, so I
want to, on the theme that you started with, it reminded me of the first time I met Geshe. The first time I saw him, I didn't meet him. It was during the Quiet Retreat teachings when he was in his 3-year retreat. And I think I've told this story before, but it's a good one. At this point, I was pretty convinced that, our minds continue on after our bodies stop, that there was some kind of, consciousness on the other side of this life. And and I want to get to heaven, right? So like, that's, it's like thinking in Christian terms, oh, I want to get to heaven. And so you start looking for answers, and, it's pretty clear that they had some. So anyway, ended up in the desert for a quiet retreat teaching to see Geshe Michael teach. I'd taken 3 of the ACI courses and wanted to go see him in person. And then he starts talking and he says, well, I'm here to teach you how to serve. I'm like, well, I don't want to serve. I just want to get to heaven. The funny thing is that, I still had some kind of concept of heaven as being like this physical location that you travel to, right? I'm going to get in my, what do they call it? Cosmonauty apparat? What's the Russian word for spaceship? Anyway.
Raketa.
Raketa. Okay, that's easier. So I still had some kind of idea that I was going to get in like a spaceship or, travel, project my mind, like to some physical place where heaven was, right? And it's not like that. It's you're going to get to heaven. You're not going to get in a rocket ship and go. You're going to get there by serving other people. That's how you change your world. You change your world by changing your mind. And you change your mind simply by being kind to other people, right? And that kindness comes back, multiplied by 10. So that's what all of this Buddhism, all of the philosophy, it's really just about how to get to heaven through kindness, and why you can get to heaven through kindness. Is it possible? So that's the whole story. Like, as we talk about Jin Nepe Chu and all the other Tibetan words, it's just so you and other people can be happy, right? Like incredibly happy and beyond suffering. So that was my thoughts.
I was thinking maybe to remind people where we are.
Okay.
Because we try to be easy to manage for our beautiful team. By the way, thank you very much, everybody who is helping us with this course. And we try to make it like once or twice a week. And in this way, it's not that difficult, but then you also have a good chance to forget everything. So let's see where we are. We are in class 4 of ACI 4, and ACI 4 is about logic, about proof of past and future lives. That was a marketing trick by Geshe Michael, because Geshe Michael wanted people to get interested in the logic that basically is helping with all other ideas, right? We need to be able to distinguish right from wrong. But people do not like logic. So he figured that past and future lives will be something that will attract people's attention. But in the first class, he actually, he said, yeah, you know what? The main idea was that you need to prove to yourself existence of Buddhas that you have never seen, nirvana that you have never experienced, and the path. And you should be able to convince yourself that the path actually does work, right? And also, you remember there was a statement by Buddha that you should not criticize other people, because if you will be sincere with yourself, you don't know who these people are and what is their intention. Their deeds may be harmful from your point of view, but maybe they do these deeds to make you think whether you should behave the same way or develop characteristics, right? So we don't really know who these people are. And So that was class 1. Then class 2, we were talking about levels of reality. That I don't think it is clear to every single person on the planet that a lot of things they cannot really perceive. And we make false statements about things that we do not know. I mean, listen to rumors if you work somewhere, and 100% of them are not, and most of statements of politicians also. And then class 3 was about definition of a valid perception, like how can I be sure that something is really as it looks like, right? I need to can have either direct one or indirect one. And this is how we ended up here in class 4 is a being. Can you imagine a being who is totally correct, right? Who has a totally correct perception. So I will try now to demonstrate slides. I don't know if I can do it, but I will do my best. Somewhere I opened the slides. Sorry, guys, usually we have somebody helping, but we decided that we are helping. Maybe not. Boy, where did I open it? Tun, 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 tun. Okay, again, sorry, but I really need slides.
Do you want me to talk about the question while you're looking for the slides?
Yeah, please start. I actually found the slides just in the moment it is coming.
Okay.
You can start.
Okay, so we've been talking about what constitutes a valid perception or a correct perception, sema or pramana, and like so I've got a like a valid perception that this is red and black, right? I mean, you're seeing it directly. That's a valid perception. It's an unmistaken state of mind. And the term can also be used to describe the Buddha. And what do they mean when they're saying that the Buddha has a sema or pramana? And there's two things, there's two components here for him or her. And he sees the totality of all objects. So he's going to see Jin Yepe Chu. He's going to see everything that's in samsara, everything. It's hard, but like every single thing that's in our universe, he can see at once. And he sees not only the thing, but he sees the emptiness of it also, right? He sees its ultimate nature. So, I mean, if you remember, there's deceptive reality and ultimate reality. And he's seeing all of that at once. And this is interesting because remember in a previous class, we were talking about how a bodhisattva on the 8th level starts seeing both emptiness and the object at the same time, right? So this person is not a Buddha, but he's seeing emptiness and the deceptive object at the same time. So what's the difference between that and this? in this case, the Buddha is omniscient. He's seeing everything, not just not just the little red coaster or the room or the jacket. He's seeing everything at once, the totality of all things. Whereas somebody on the eighth bhumi, and you remember the bhumis were the 10 levels after you've had the direct perception of emptiness. And so after you've had the direct perception of emptiness, you still have a ways to go before you reach enlightenment. And so you go through the 10 different levels, and your understanding of emptiness is improving at each stage as you go up. And interestingly, when Geshe did his Geshe debate, Ian and I are going to Sarah May in India in November, late October, November. And when Geshe was there, he would travel back and forth, but he did his final debate there when he got his Geshe degree, and in front of the whole audience, and his topic was the eighth bhumi level, and so he did a public debate as his final graduation event there, and that was on the eighth bhumi level, interestingly enough. And so the difference is
you can figure out why, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll go ahead and say this. It's one man's opinion, right? But it's obvious to me he's had the direct perception of emptiness, and had it a long time ago, and came into this world. You've had the direct perception of emptiness in a previous life. What happens is that fairly early on as a young adult in your current life, without much effort at all, you'll almost spontaneously have the direct perception of emptiness. And so that's basically what happened with Geshe. I think, how old was he? 23?
Mm-hmm.
I think he was 23 when he had the direct perception of emptiness there in Howell, New Jersey. And so within a couple of years of having met his teacher, Ken Rinpoche, whose reincarnation is now at Sarah May, I'm very excited to meet him again. So Geshe direct perception of emptiness, and he's never said it publicly, but I think he was at the eighth level when he was doing his Geshe degree from past life. Now, that's a big statement. You certainly don't have to take my word as fact, but you can investigate it. And so then that's what, particularly, it's a really tricky thing when you start trying to figure out what's happened in somebody else's mind stream. It's very difficult to see that, right? Which is why we were talking last class about not judging somebody else. Like, you don't know. And for Geshe, I would say, well, look at his actions. Has he behaved like somebody who understood cause and effect? Has he behaved like somebody who really had a direct realization of emptiness and realized its importance? So then, what are they up to? 120 books now? So anyway, that's this discussion. The difference between eighth level, ninth level Bodhisattva and a Buddha is the omniscience. On the eighth and ninth level, you're really powerful. You're definitely you're way out. You're very close to enlightenment, but you're not there yet. You still have obstacles to omniscience. And so that's the difference between this topic and an eighth bhumi.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun stuff, right? Like the idea that it's possible.
Yeah, so I just want to go back a little bit to the fact that what we are discussing right here, right, is a person who is always correct, possible at all, right? So, and there are a lot of discussions, like they also say, yeah, okay, so the person who is totally correct always has this valid, accurate perception, right? Or correct, let's say, perception. So does it mean he does not have any tsemin at all? I mean, tsemin, right? Tsema, tsemin. Tsema is correct perception, and tsemin is when I do not have correct perception. Like, for example, I go for a coffee break or something with my colleague, and then we talk about some third person, and then I probably have 100% of tsemin, right? Because we discuss what they think. So, and they say that, yeah, he doesn't have any tsemin, but he can perceive tsemin because he or she, you know, enlightened being, they do not really have a gender in the sense we perceive it, because they can manifest as any gender. And so they can perceive in my mind, my tsemin, right? This is what they can perceive, but they do not have their own. Anything we didn't say? I think that's it. Yeah, the Buddha is the one who sees both the all existing object in past, present, and future, and the ultimate nature of these objects, which is emptiness, ultimate reality at the same time. Then, my love, you know, people, they ask. I did an interview with 3 people last month, and I think I'm getting really in the interviewing mood. And I like to ask difficult question. You ready? He doesn't know what I will ask.
Maybe.
They say, like, when you become a Buddha, you can perceive past, present, and future. And then, does it mean that your mind does not change anymore? Does it mean that your mind becomes unchanging? That's a difficult question, I know.
Yeah, it is a difficult question, right? Yeah, and then if his mind's not a changing thing, how did he get enlightened? How did he go from being human to enlightened, right? Because the only reason that's possible is because it's a changing thing, right? Like we spent a lot of time talking about an unchanging being, not being a valid cause of your world. You know, to be honest, like off the top of my head, changing. Certainly, it's interesting because this is related to the second question, right? You want to go to this? You want to go to the next slide?
Yeah, I try. Okay. Yeah.
So then we talked earlier about how if you remember something, that's in this school. Different schools have different interpretations, but in this school, if you remember something, it's not a valid perception. So then, does the Buddha remember something? And then if he remembers something, then is he having a thought that's not a pramana, a thought that's not a sema, right? Like, I remember that. Gotcha, you're not perfect. And so it's interesting, right? And then the answer is, I remember, well, I'll get to the answer in a second, but I remember talking with Art Engel early on. And Art was one of Ken Rinpoche's great students. He was senior to Geshe Michael. Geshe Michael was a younger man when he showed up, and Art was the translator that Geshe says he was jealous of. I had the opportunity to talk about enlightenment with Art. And one of the things he said really stuck with me. He said that if the Buddha sat down to play a game of chess, he wouldn't have to think it through. It wouldn't be, he said, deliberative was the technical term he used. He wouldn't have to sit there and think, tick-a-tick, 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 moiponik, He wouldn't have to, he wouldn't have to go through the steps, because he could see the whole game from beginning to end in an instant. He's not thinking it through. So the answer to this is that the Buddha isn't remembering anything because time's not linear for him. Time's linear for us. We're going moment to moment. He's seeing everything. He's seeing everything all at once.
That was my trap, my love, because when you say changing, right, then you are automatically in a time perspective, right?
Yeah.
And then he ask you, so does it mean the mind of the Buddha does not change? But then the Buddha is automatically out of time, linear time perspective. And then you say, yes, of course, because it changed between these time periods, right? Between different moments in the past and the future. This is what we call changing.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's not stuck in linear time. And that's another thing that Geshe talked about early on in his quiet retreat teachings. I remember him talking about how dangerous it is to live in a linear world. You don't see what's coming next. I mean, you're walking through the desert. Is there anything there that's going to bite you? That almost happened to me in retreat when I was in my retreat. It was late at night. I was sitting out on this platform. The moon was out, and when you're in the desert and there's lights around, it really makes a dramatic difference as to whether the moon is full and shining or dark and black. When it was dark and black, the night when the moon was shining and full and bright. And I almost didn't turn on my flashlight. So I got up, I took a few steps because I could see. And I thought, well, I better turn on my flashlight because there's snakes around. And I turned it on, and sure enough, huge rattlesnake, more than 1 meter long. And I was about 2 steps away from stepping on it. And that's because we live in a linear world, right? Like, I'm not enlightened. I can't see 30 seconds in front of me directly, right? And you can get in trouble. Like, you can step on a poisonous snake because of it. But if you're out of time, well, no problem. You can accomplish everything, right? I mean, it would be, playing chess isn't, you don't even play chess. It's just there, right? The game is there. So that was that talk.
Okay.
But you can imagine how useful it would be to be out of time, like, right? To be able to see. And I think what happens as your meditation gets better, it's not just like a nothing and then all of a sudden you get it. It's a gradual building up. Like, you start having a sense of the future, and then you start being able to see a little bit into the future, and you start being able to see hundreds of years in the future, and then eventually you see the whole thing.
Okay. Let's go to the next question then. I hope I can do again the trick. Oh, it worked out. So, we have question 2 and then question 4.
Yeah, it looks like it skips one.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's okay.
that's it. That's it. That's right.
Okay. To come to this question, probably we need to talk a little bit about to remember the reality, right? Okay, let's remember levels of reality, because I don't know, guys, about you. Before I did this course and it didn't stick to my mind from the first time, I was never thinking about levels of reality. I mean, I was thinking, yeah, I have some information, and then I have no information, or sometimes I have partial information, but I was never thinking about it as levels of reality. And here, like, the beautiful thing is every class you continue to build on what you learned. And then why we were studying these levels of reality? To let you know that for every single level of reality, you have different tools to make something that you can correctly perceive out of this level, right? And so if remember, the first level was evident reality, or deceptive reality, right? What we can perceive with our sense powers, and we also can perceive our thoughts. Then the second level of reality is emptiness, something that is hidden reality. There are some other things that are hidden. For example, like this is obvious reality for you, and then now it's hidden. It's a hidden reality for you, hidden behind my back. And emptiness is like that. And for blind people, colors are hidden, right? They can get proofs that colors exist. Like somebody can logically. Oh, now you have indirect perception of a dog in this apartment. I have a very big Hatiko-like dog next door. And there is a hidden and deeply hidden. So the next question is about this. So what are the 3 main methods for a normal person to determine that the Buddha is totally correct about the very deep teachings he gave? So normally these teachings should not contradict, it is called Chepasum, these 3 things, 3 main methods. And first, the teachings should not contradict your direct experience. Second, they should not be disproved by any airtight reasoning. That is mean like strong logic, right? And third, the Buddhas themselves should not contradict nothing that they say at one time should contradict something that they said at another time. And I remember Geshe Michael teaching this class, and he said, like, in all the Kangyur, you I don't remember exactly the number of volumes. I remember the books, endless books in the back room in the scriptorium in the college. So you can, if you are at college at some point someday, take a guided tour to the scriptorium, and you will see this endless like Kangyur, like volumes. of teachings of the Buddha. And I think like, and he says like, he never contradicted himself through the whole Kangyur. I was like, what?
No.
I mean, anybody who heard about 4.5 different schools of thoughts.
Yeah, right. Like there's the three turnings of the wheel. He taught something very distinctly different in all three turnings. So now you're telling me he didn't contradict himself? You tell me he taught three different things, and now you're telling me he didn't contradict himself?
Yeah.
I think I'm about ready to quit the class and go do something useful.
Yeah, and you know what is the funny thing? That this is true. It's true. He doesn't contradict himself because, like, if you teach a girl or a boy of 2 years old, it will be different from if you teach 5 years old, and it will be different from when you teach 15 years old, right? So it's not about the subject, it is about teaching techniques mostly. So actually it is true, he does not contradict himself. But this is not what you may perceive from the first shot, right? But then what happens? And I will be honest with you, it is still happening with me. I know it is a normal process. It means that I'm still growing, and I have future in front of me to where to go. Because first you perceive, because of the lack of seeds, you perceive all of that as totally different and totally contradictory. And then you start to see how actually it is the past, right? It is like what you were thinking is contradicting. It is just because you were at the, I don't know, first level, and you have heard about like fifth level, but you were missing like 2, 3, 4 or something like that. And then once you get more of that, then you have this 3D. And I remember I was impressed. Geshe Michael was translating with Stanley his book, the Abhidharma Kosha. And, you know, Abhidharma is the very basic level of the philosophy of thought in these teachings, right? So they talk about karma, they talk about selflessness of the person. They do not think a person is self-existent, but basically things they are, right? And things include parts of the person. And then Geshe Michael says, but if you will read it slightly differently, like from another school perspective, all the same words can be understood in totally different way. And he demonstrated it, and I was shocked because he said, do you want me to prove that they talk about bodhisattvas? Here, tin, tin, tin. And he found the place that if you know what to look at, they really talk about bodhisattvas, which is Mahayana, right? Another level in the Abhidharma Kosha. So it's very beautiful. And at the end, maybe you will see that there is no contradiction in the whole Kangyur, as Geshe Michael sees it.
The first two topics here, that the teachings cannot be disproved by any direct, valid perception, and the teachings cannot be disproved by any airtight reasoning, right? You know, like all of Western academia would say, well, you know, just because you can't disprove it doesn't mean that it's accurate, right? Like, okay, so what? You know, I say there's a God, I'll prove it. Well, I say you prove that there isn't. They're not interested, right? And partly rightfully so, but then they're missing some things also. You know, they're they're not looking at things that they could be looking at necessarily, right? Like, I went to the University of Virginia, and they had one of my professor there for Buddhism was how I got introduced to Buddhism, and from that has grown. And I'm sure I haven't talked with the people directly, but there is now at that university an entire division for perceptual study. The division, it's called that, the Division of Perceptual Studies, which is just a more technical term for a lot of what this Buddhism is, right? Like, why do you see the things that you see? And so, and one of our biggest questions is, for us as humans, is, well, okay, what happens after I die? And all of, like almost everything in the university, well, we can't see it, we're not interested in it. And, I think that's a mistake, because if you do look, there are clues, right? And one of the clues, and this was just, they were having a talk at the University of Virginia about kids who had memories of past lives. And it was really interesting because, the Tibetans are convinced that that there are past and future lives. And they've got stories of reincarnated lamas who had memories, who passed tests, but then it'd be like, well, okay, if it's happening to Tibetans, why isn't it happening to Westerners? And apparently it is. It's just people weren't looking at it, right? People say, oh, my 5-year-old son, he's just saying silly stuff, right? He's just making things up. But the professors there have had the courage to start looking at things that weren't really accepted in the current academic culture, like past lives, future lives. I can't measure it, right? Like there's no speed, there's no distance, there's no number. I can't do math to prove that, right? And, but yet there is evidence, and they're gathering it and they're presenting it to people. And so I wouldn't say that just because you can't disprove it, that it proves it. But I would say that if you can't disprove it, you may not want to disregard it, right? That there may be something there that you're missing, like a 5-year-old who's documented saying things about a past life that he had no way of knowing. It's interesting, right? And then what are the implications of that? It's a trickier subject, right?
Oh, very tricky.
It's not as easy to measure as the velocity of a car, right? Like for everybody who had high school physics, car goes. It's funny. So anyway, if a car goes 60 miles an hour for an hour, how far has it gone, right? And that's a difficult question for some people, but it's 60. It's easy, right? Harder to look at past lives. So anyway, I'm not super convinced about the first 2 points, but I do think that it's important. It's important not to disregard it, right? Like admit that you don't know, and then put it on the shelf and come back to it. Maybe, because it's anyway. That's what I could say on that.
So why
I
do
didn't
you
love this question in the sense that I don't think it absolutely proved it. I think it, but I do think it's smart to take it and put it on the shelf and come back to it later.
I think we need to explain why people are uncomfortable with this question, right? then let's go back to the levels of reality. I mean, you try now to prove that perception of somebody who is a totally different being is correct, right? That his words are correct. But what he sees is deeply hidden reality, and deeply hidden reality cannot be proved by any means for us. So when we
at the moment, maybe.
moment, right.
Assuming you're not an Arya.
And even for Aryas, it is a deeply hidden reality, because Aryas, they do not see connections, karmic correlations, right? They do not.
Yeah, they don't have the totality, but they've lost their doubt, right? About the four Arya truths. They've lost their doubt about, cause and effect. They see the day that they'll be enlightened, and so they know. I mean, they've actually seen the Dharmakaya, right? I mean, they've seen the emptiness body of a Buddha, and they knew that that's what that was. So they have lost doubt about. I don't think they doubt that a Buddha is totally correct.
Probably not. But actually, this is why we have these issues, right? Because if I know I told you already, but I want to repeat that if somebody is teaching about karma, and they at the very least do not say they are enlightened beings, then the only source they can teach it from is from an enlightened being teaching this, right? And there are just couple sutras as of today, all kinds of karma, and some other sutras, but not that many, right? And it does not mean that you cannot have a rough idea. I mean, you can use your logic to analyze your life, right? And you will get some rough idea. Okay, I did this, and this is what happened. I did this, and this is what happened. But you do not have it like 100% correct, right? I cannot look at I have a painting in front of me, which is all pink, flowers. And I don't know what I have done to see this exact picture, right? And an enlightened being knows every single molecule, what they have done to perceive what they perceive. And this is something that is deeply hidden. So to access this level of reality, we have only, remember, direct perception and two indirect. And first indirect is logic. With logic, we can perceive deeply hidden reality and rely on somebody whom we trust, authority. And this one can give you access to the deeply hidden reality. But logic cannot give. This is the issue. So anything that was taught by the Buddha about this deeply hidden reality cannot be proven by the logic. This is why we have so many doubts. It's like not the next floor, but in two floors, and it is out of our capacity to perceive even indirectly.
I think one of the really exciting things about this body of wisdom is that you're not going to be asked just to take the word of somebody who lived thousands of years ago. You can take this, learn to meditate, and have the direct perception of emptiness for yourself. I mean, you can see these things yourself. And it's not just some special piece of wisdom that belongs to somebody that's better than you. Now, at the moment, they may be better than you. but you can get there too, is what they're saying. And that's really exciting. And they're not saying that you have to die to go do it, right? It's not like, we're talking about a gamble, right? I'm going to die and hope things are better on the other side. Uh, uh, they're saying that, you can do this. You can see these things for yourself in this lifetime.
Mhm. So then we come to the question, right? I mean, the Buddha himself says like Matan Pani Seja Shin, kill your mother and father. Very famous. He said it, right? So
Well, at least by the time it got to Jesus, he toned it down a bit. He just said you have to hate your mother and father.
yeah, right. Jesus also said the same thing. And then of course, they wanted to attract attention, right? Was a marketing tool. But I mean, does it mean that is if he is totally correct, does it mean it's true what he says? Or if he didn't mean what he said, does it mean he's not always correct? Or like how to explain it?
It did. My mom, people saw my mom's here visiting. She's 83. And so are you telling me I missed an opportunity by not yelling at her before she went out and get coffee?
Yeah, Bill's mom is a total evil.
Yeah.
And we know the story, right? The Buddha was figurative, and he meant that at some point you may want to get focused on. I mean, doesn't mean you have to spend in your retreat all your life, right? Even Bill spent only 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days, which is not a lot, right, my love? Was I figurative or literal now?
Yeah. The one thing that, well, anyway, we can talk about
Yeah, I was totally
another
thinking of you.
subject.
So what I mean that if I say like Bill, it was not long, right? It was just 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days. Am I literal or figurative, right? Was the Buddha literal or figurative when he said you should kill your father and mother? I mean, he meant that at some point you should pay attention to these teachings because your life is short, you're running out of time. There will be the last day of this, let's call it sequence of your stable seeds, right? We also call it life. There will be the end of this stable sequence.
Yeah, that's such a great phrase. I think it's worth repeating. Sequence of stable seeds.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what it means to be human.
Yeah, because then there will be not much changes because there will be a short break and then another sequence. The issue is we have zero control on the other sequence. And you don't know when will be your next time to be a human again and conscious and interested in the teachings and realizing how really you can stop this endless, washing machine laundry program, like endless. One cycle, wool. Second cycle, cotton. Third cycle, delicate. Wool again, cotton again, like dirty something, heavy dirty. Non-stop, right? So this subject is very special in Buddhism. It is called tranya. You will hear a lot about it, right, my love?
Yeah, it's a fun subject.
Yeah, probably our favorite one, no?
Yeah.
So, this is what you will do to all the teachings, you will have to analyze, was it literal or was it figurative? And you will also need to use the same logic. Should I say to your teachers, my love? Yeah. So, yeah. Because sometimes Buddha did not mean what he says. It was not literal, right? He was hinting on something or had a special intent. So this is what it takes us is, are there any rules? Like, can I be based on something? Can I use some kind of tool to figure out, was he literal or figurative? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if he did. Yeah, we're lucky, he did. Okay, I can go ahead and name it. There are basically three rules, three ground rules to interpret the Buddha. First, the true intent. If he does not talk what is technically true, does it mean that he has something specific on his mind? Like, what was the intent? Second, does this statement contradict to what we know was true or is true? So first is true intent, second is the contradiction, and then the need. There must be some compelling need under this intent, some compelling purpose to say something that is not technically true.
And you know, this is, again, I'm going to play. Do you have the term in the Russian language, devil's advocate?
Yeah, we do.
So I'm going to be the devil's advocate here, right? Contradiction. You know, we were just, okay, so we say, he has the different schools, but we were just talking, like in the ACI courses for the mind only school, you know, Geshe said, well, it doesn't mean mind only. And then I was like, okay, so I grabbed a hold of that really tight, right? Doesn't mean mind only. And then we got to the Golden Key, the words book that he translated with Geshe, and it's about the mind only school, and it goes deeper, and it says, well, there are no outer objects, meaning it's all mind. And so then you have, and so then what do? I mean, it's like, that's a contradiction, right? And that's not about different schools of thought. That's a contradiction about the mind only school. And so then Ina had the chance last week to go see Geshe. And this was one of the questions. I said, well, you got to ask him about this, right? I got him.
Yeah, I think you remember we told you already about this contradiction in the same.
Have we talked about it in class already? I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah,
And
because
so,
he
well,
said.
we talked about the contradiction. I don't think we've had the chance to tell you about the answer.
No, we didn't.
And so what is Geshe? What do you guys think Geshe-la's answer was for that? He's like, oh crap, I've got to go change my class. Blin. You know, no. What he said, and I wasn't there. What did he say, you know?
He said, yeah, both correct.
Okay. And so then now what are you gonna do, right?
Yeah.
Like is there a contradiction here in the teachings?
Yeah, and I think what we will never resolve this contradiction thing if we will forget that mind only is not the ultimate school of Buddhism, right? It's the third one, and we have 4.5, and the correct one is only the second half of the fourth one.
Well, and one of the things that I was getting to with this after Geshe gave us that answer is that when you're talking about ultimate reality, right? When you're talking about emptiness, there's nothing you can say about it that is it. There's nothing that you can say about it that is it. Because everything you're saying is conceptual. Any word you can use is part of deceptive reality. It's a mental label. It's not emptiness itself. And so all you can really do is kind of talk around it. You can't, because like when you're in the direct perception of emptiness, if you were to think, oh, the mind only school was right about this, it would kick you out of the experience. You can't have
exactly.
you can't have a conceptual thought when you're in the direct perception of emptiness. I mean, so I think that's what, like as you try and pin down exactly what these things are in the different schools, I think it's very useful because it's a path out. It's not the ultimate, it's not the direct perception of emptiness itself, but it's a path to it, right? And so that's where I got with that. And it's not that it's all useless, but it's tricky, which is why we're discussing it, right? I mean, what do you do when you're faced? I mean, I've seen people when they're faced with contradictions like that, just walk away. Like I got, and people sit in the audience and and they'll look for something like that. They'll look for a reason to quit and leave.
I can tell you what I may do it, because even in ACI 15, you will see they talk about the different parts of like sutrists leaning to mind only, leaning to sutrists, mind only, leaning to Lao Madhyamika, And so there are already a little bit different views in the same school. So I was thinking, if there are enlightened beings, right? The only way they can help me is by teaching. And they teach me what I need because they have seen the play already, the chess play to the end. They know exactly what I need at the different points, and they say do it effortlessly. They help automatically. They don't need to think, I want to help in. No, they just boom, done. And then if I get these teachings, like they say first 4.5 schools, now actually, if you will calculate, it will be around like, or probably already 8 or something, with the different like streams within the same.
I think if you were to really look at it closely, there are probably 8 billion people on the planet and 8 billion different schools.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I was thinking, that if I have this idea from ACI 15, explanation of mind only from ACI 15 by Geshe Michael, that should be correct, based on the scriptures by Jetson Kapp. I mean, And then you have another book 20 plus years, almost 30 years later, I think by the same Jetson Kappa, right? Commentary on Jetson Kappa, talking about something from totally different perspective. Then probably I have two wrong ideas in my mind that I need help with, right? So I need to review these two possibilities, because mind only can never be an ultimate school. It will, anyway, it will be something that is slightly incorrect, but helping to get to the better understanding of the highest school, to disprove some ideas that I'm still grasping to in my mind from the school. So this is what is my takeaway. And actually, it's very interesting, my love, because I forgot even the last question of this class, but we perfectly came, like, it is very logical.
It leads to it, doesn't it? It's brilliant. Yeah, I noticed the same thing in the flow of the questions. It leads from one to the other brilliantly.
Yeah. So, and you remember there was a definition of an enlightened being, of the Buddha, by Master Dignaga, and I will try to get it. Yeah, this is the definition: a person who is totally correct and only has valid, who turned totally correct, right, and has only valid perception, wants to help every living being, etc., right? I'm trying to see the whole, if I have somewhere the whole definition. Yeah, here he is. I bow down to the person who has the 5 qualities of a Buddha, the protector, who has gone to bliss, the teacher, who wishes to, those who wish to benefit sentient beings, and those who have turned into a person with valid perception. And every single phrase here is like $1 billion, probably $1 billion will be too cheap to assess the consequences of this definition, because they actually tell you that there is a path, right? And the path that is working, actually. And it describes the enlightened being. And we will go into details tomorrow at the next class, what the enlightened being is, what is the nature of missions, like how can he know all the things and perceive all the things, how he perceives it. And today it's about how you call it, what is the being who perceives everything correctly. And they teach us, and if we use logic, and if we rely on the authority more and more, because more and more things we will be able to use with the time, right? So he turned totally correct. It means he wasn't. He was a human being. I mean, not only human, also was like you will find out he was born over 60 times as a dog after he did something really bad. I mean, after he was forever in the hell realms, the Buddha himself. But he was a being, and he turned into a Buddha from this. And because he did it, it necessarily means that there is a path, there is a method to become a Buddha, right?
Yeah, the importance of this for me was really, and I think for a lot of people, it's going to be a really significant point, because the issue for me with Christianity was always, how did somebody, if there is this God, why is there suffering, right? If he created the world, why are there wars? Right? And we don't have to go into it. You guys, if you're here, you're probably already familiar enough with it. And I couldn't understand, like, why did a loving God do that? Well, here's the answer. He didn't. He
Guilty, the very least.
yeah, he's not guilty, right? And you were going to have to save your own world, right? And then the Buddha has valid means of helping you, because you're going to walk the path. He walked the path and got out of suffering. And then he can teach you how to do it for yourself, but you're going to have to do it for yourself. And that's a really critical difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's exciting. I mean, it means that you don't just have to wait for some all-powerful being to decide that he cares enough about you, to grant you access to heaven, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, it means that you're going to do it for yourself. It's really profound, frankly.
Yeah, and I think also it is important to say that the more you walk the path, the better tools you get, right? Because I remember I met Bill almost exactly 5 years ago. By the way, my love, we need to celebrate, because people are asking, how did you celebrate? Yeah. He flew away. This is how.
It's celebrated by having a job.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. And, I met Bill and I asked him, like, how long did you plant seeds to meet a partner? And he told me 14 years. I was like, oh, you cannot sell the course that gives a chance to meet your partner in 14 years. But I did it like faster, much faster. I mean, like 1 year or a little bit more. And then I realized Geshe Michael was not teaching for steps before, right?
Mhm.
It did not exist literally in the beginning of his teaching career, when he started to teach ACI, and he started to teach for steps like by 2010 or something, right?
Mhm.
Uh,
Oh, the 4 steps. Yeah, before 2010, that's when the retreat started. He'd been starting to teach it about 2000, I'm just guessing. The 4 steps specifically like that in 2008, 2007. That's when DCI started.
mhm.
And he didn't tell us that the 4 steps were just a clear translation of the technical term of a complete path of karma. I've seen a complete path of karma, kind of lies in the book. Doesn't go anywhere. It was interesting, but it wasn't clear how to use it. So 4 steps.
Yeah. So what it means that you have very cool seeds to find out that you can do something faster in the next life. Okay, 14 years was also quite fast comparing to next life, I mean. So let's appreciate what Geshe Michael does, and appreciate your seeds that allow you to do so cool things nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Because you the path.
The pace of change can change, right?
And you see, like, you do ACI courses, you have some practice, you try to be nice to other people, not to hurt them, help them, and you become a happier person. Maybe at some point you will not appreciate it, and then you will have what to say, you will have a flashback to your old bad, like lifestyle. But if you practice, your life will change, and you will feel. Yeah. I think this is the most important sign, right?
Mm. Yeah, and you can. You should be getting happier if you're on the path, right?
Yeah, and less angry. If you get more angry, you do something wrong.
It's not, and it doesn't mean that things are going to be perfect quickly. That's not the point either, you know. But they can get better.
Yeah. Okay, my love. I think we can be done,
Music
right?
function.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming, my love, because we were missing you. And tomorrow, same time, we will have class 5. Don't worry, there will be a dedication. We're not done completely yet. And we will do 3 classes next week. We will try to move a little bit to speed up, and then 2 more classes. We will see when we can do them. Maybe already from the monastery, because we will be traveling. Oh, we will see.
And as always, please do your homeworks. You haven't done the class unless you've done the homeworks. And if you want to go on to the higher teachings, it's
He will not teach you if you do
I
not do.
won't. I won't teach you unless you've done your courses and your homeworks. So please do your homeworks, do the meditations, and keep up. If you say you'll do it later, you won't do it later. Do it now. Lose 10 minutes of sleep, 30 minutes of sleep. Do it now. You won't do it later. You'll never come back to it if you don't do it now. It's almost harmful to attend the classes and not do the homework because you think you've retained it.
Yeah.
And then you've basically lost it. It'll be gone.
And tomorrow we are coming to closer to proofs. It will be still about nature of an enlightened being, but then we are coming to proofs, and this is why it is important for you. I mean, I would love somebody to teach me logic like long time ago, and I'm willing to teach you. Bill does not want to teach you because he's evil. But I'm the good one. I will teach you logic. I mean, he can teach you his flying. But we will do several classes to teach the basics. Logic is cool, fun, and debating is very funny, laughable. I mean, it's very cool. I mean, when we debate, women in the West, it's cool. When young monks debate at ceremonies, it is actually very scary because they yell at each other. But it's fun, and then you will have like a breakthrough in your understanding and practice, because it will be clear to you what you can rely on. And I will give you a very cool practice after the first class. I can share with you what I will ask from you. And you can try to get ready to the class, practicing it. I mean, you don't know yet about correct reasoning and stuff, but you can try with the understanding that you have to say only things you have tema about. Not to say anything that you are not sure about. I mean, it means you cannot rely on, I know what he or she thinks, feels, like, I heard rumors of something, like, try to use only temas when you talk. You will see how silent you will be.
Brilliant point.
Yeah, and close your eyes and think about 1 hour, 20 minutes we spent together studying these beautiful things. And I'm very grateful. We are very grateful for you that you come to listen, because for us, this is very happy time when we can talk about it, share it and discuss, think, make progress, plant good seeds. And remember your point A, like all your problems you have right now. And make a wish that every single second that you just spend here should be dedicated to the fact that you want to see point B. You want to see everybody happy. Everybody is a Temakiebo person who is people who are totally correct. No suffering, no wars, no poverty, no sicknesses. Everybody have their bodies of light and omniscience, and really have fun. And it is not something still. It is another dimension, right? Because the mind of the Buddha is not unchanging, it is expanding. Go back to your breathing. Now go in your life, do your enlightened activities.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much for teaching with me. It's an honor for me.
Oh, it's fun to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very grateful for everybody who shows up, because it's a lot of fun for us to do this. And thankful, who did the slides?
Alina.
Thank you, Alina. They're great. Very useful.
Alina is coming to Chicago in November.
Oh, great.
She will be our neighbor soon.
You can come to the airport and see me.
Somehow. Maybe she was doing slides. Thank you, translators. Please forgive us. We try our best. And by the way, if you want to see us personally, I forgot to tell you, there will be an event in Paris. We will just fly to India and stay for a couple of days in Paris. It's on the 23rd of October. If you want to come, you may want to reserve tickets already, because it will be cheaper now than later. And 6 p.m. somewhere in Paris, we will give you the links. You can register. I think we have a donation or something there. And we will be happy to hug you in Paris. And it will be an million is prebirki test tube from a million from a test tube event, love and money. Okay. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Topic.